So, Christian, going from Mr. Danny, tell us about the promising practice or practices, it can be more than one, practices that have emerged from your IRL project thus far.
Yes, so our promising practice is just what you mentioned, transformative scenario planning. And this is a holistic planning approach that brings together a diverse group of people, some of whom hopefully are influential in terms of decision making, but really unique. This is a group of people that are sometimes includes folks that are maybe too polarized in their positions to work together to commit sort of collective action to imagine and work toward a better future. And that's what's, unique about it is this bringing people together with opposing viewpoints. And the idea is to promote a structural transformation or system transformation by centering individuals and their shared experiences through something that in the literature we call situated learning. And that's an approach to learning that emphasizes the participatory nature of knowledge production through, for example, mentoring and apprenticing. This is something that you see certainly in my field of anthropology, but in many other fields that we call a community of practice. And that's a group of people who learn collaboratively by interacting and developing shared understandings. And you need look no further than the IRL program for this. The IRL program, our cohorts, are transformative scenario planning groups. We are a community of practice. We are a group of influential and diverse actors. Some of us are really polarized in our decisions. We don't all agree about everything, but we come together and we work collaboratively as a community of practice to try to envision what the possibility for health equity could be, and then what kinds of strategies we can take individually in our own lives and in our professional lives to move that needle. So I think that our promising practice, the TSP, the Transformative Scenario Planning practice, is very much like the IRL program. It is a community of practice.
Yeah.
That's a huge compliment that you are making a comparison of your amazing program to us. Thank you.
It makes our work easy because we just go to the IRL program meetings and take all of the good ideas and steal them and come back to our community and work with our community. And it's great. It's super easy.
Yeah. It's a team sports too. That's what it is. You guys, it's a team sport. We're not alone. It is a
I'll
team
take
effort. Absolutely.
that.
Just wanted to chime in. One other like outcome of this work is that, so I think in our situation, the plan didn't necessarily work out, as envisioned, because as Danny and Christian pointed out, the problems were structural and we needed local governance to sort of be on board with the change. And so that's why we even selected the transformative scenario approach, because it gets people who are often polarized, hopefully as they envision the future together, they are willing to transform it by seeing each other differently, not just seeing each other in their professional roles, but also as like human beings. Again, talking about, to Danny's point, that's what the IRL program did for us, really centered us as individuals and acknowledged us as people and gave us dignity. And so hopefully they would have that experience. But then the city government, whom we really needed to be present, was not present, But a promising practice that really emerged, and to Danny's point, was it really built the capacity of the people who did attend to want to take local action. Daniel can report that there are many people who, before those workshops that we had, maybe were not as engaged or not as willing to take initiative or take the lead on projects, who are now like very much taking the lead on things and are attending more community events and things like that. And so even though, yes, we didn't get the city government on board and promising, a bucket list of items, the people who did show up for these workshops, were very much, inspired and encouraged, to take matters into their own hands. And so I think even if the plan doesn't work out how you envision, the people who do show up, do get a lot out of the experience. Yeah.
I'll just add that even though we didn't get the city really involved, we created the conditions conducive to change. We took the baton while we had it and ran as fast as we could. And we're still going to run, but we're also handing off the baton to the next generation that can take it forward. So it was a really important period, I think, in the evolution of what's going on in Northport St. Joe.
I love that. And you have just begun. You're
Yes.
not done yet.
Nope,
So,
we're not. We're not.
excellent.
I want to invite you all to follow along the trajectory that Christian was just talking about, where he said, like, giving the baton to the next generation. So I want you all to like cast your eyes towards the future, right? We've talked about in one of our last October meetings, we talked about like envisioning possibilities and dreaming towards the future. And so I wonder if you could share with us, like, what do you think are the next steps for the work that you are doing in Northport St. Joe? And how do you see the lessons that you've learned being applied to the work for health equity? Maybe we can start with Mr. Danny, and then the others can jump in as they see fit.
Well, I have to say the work that we've done so far, I think as Christian and Kwame both said, I think we've laid a great foundation in terms of the community realizing that together there's power there. They can actually be able to move this transformative work that we've done to the next level. And the IRL giving us this opportunity to pull this together. And one of the things that was so beautiful about it was bringing these people together. We did 3 retreats. And from those retreats, those folks bonded together in a way that I think that as we look at what's next, and we're going to be talking about what's next. I talked to Kwame and Christian about, how do we build on the work that has been done rather than just as most things in the community, people say, okay, we had a meeting, we did this. We can't, what are we going to do after this is over? Put it on the shelf, or we're going to go back and say, what's the next steps to move us forward? So I envision this work not just ending when the IRL piece ends. I envision this work moving to another level. We're going to be meeting here in August to really talk about how we can actually move that ball to the next level. So, Chris, I hope I answered your question, but that to me is such a paramount piece of this work. I've done so much research and so many different projects that I've been on over the years where there was a paper written, a white paper, there was a grant written, it was put on the shelf, and that was the end of it. But this work is so important that it has to be moved to the next level. And so I'm hoping that upon the work that's being done. We've got a group of folks in the community who says, look, they're craving this. We had most of the people who started out with us in the first workshops came to the second workshop, came to the third workshop. We lost a few, but the true essence of the work was one, and the way it was presented was in such an informative way that people want to see this move because it is a big concern to the community. And so we got to now broaden our net. We've got to, if we can't reach all of the elected officials in the city or the county, we got to cherry pick. Maybe we can get one here, one there, but we've got to continue this work and take it to the next level.
I think we learned 2 really important things by doing this project. The first is that, even though we were doing this kind of transformative scenario planning, what we were really doing was building capacity for engagement. And at the end of the day, even though we have these scenarios, planned, it's really about getting people involved in the community. And I think that's one of the successes of the project. The other thing that I learned, I don't know about my colleagues, but, we went into this thinking about all the problems that are in Northport St. Joe that Danny beautifully articulated, all of the health problems, all the environmental problems. And when we approached the TSP planning process and the retreats as a bunch of problems, people were, tired of hearing about the problems, tired of being involved in the problems. But what the IRL taught us was to flip the script and talk about the future. What do people envision for the future? What are their dreams? And so when we approached the planning process in terms of dreaming about the good things of the future, everybody suddenly, a light clicked on and people wanted to be involved and engaged in that. They didn't want to be engaged in problems and problem solving. They wanted to be involved in the dream work that makes the team work. And so we've totally, or for me anyway, I've totally redesigned the way I approach problems now and approach them in terms of people's future and the dreams they have for the future and their children. instead of just constantly saying, this is bad, this is bad, this is bad. Nobody likes that kind of stigma, but people like to be involved in that kind of dream work. So that was one big outcome that I had not anticipated at all for this project that I'm very happy with.